search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites US officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the US has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the sense of fear expressed by some politicians in the UK following the murder last week of Conservative Party lawmaker Sir David Amess, as he was meeting some of his constituents who had made appointments to see him. His killing, the second of an elected lawmaker in 5 years, has caused widespread shock and horror in the UK. Lisa Nandy is a Member of Parliament with the opposition Labour Party, first elected 11 years ago.
It's when you're walking the streets and when you're out and about, there've been a number of times when I've been threatened or my staff have been threatened, and I think it is getting worse. But I also think it brings out the best in people. That, even just this morning, as I've been doing the media round, although I'm still getting a regular sort of drumbeat of abuse on social media, my inbox is absolutely full this morning of people saying thank you for what you and other MPs are doing, and people are like that in the real world as well. And that's why I think this is so important, and we need to take it seriously, because most people want their MPs to be able to represent them. This isn't just an attack on us, this is an attack on anybody who believes in a free society.
Police say the assassination of Sir David Amess may have been an act of terrorism. It has certainly sparked a debate about whether more needs to be done now to protect members of Parliament, while finding a way of continuing to allow them to mix freely with the people they represent. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding which has killed at least 18 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. And China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
The members of Twisted Sister announced they are now willing to take it. A local man is seated next to Lou Reed on a roller coaster, and in retrospect, a band teacher was probably gay. And now a digitally remastered recap of the summer's music news. Baby Baby Love Ya Girl is now the nation's #1 song, despite no one claiming credit for singing, writing, or producing it. Here now is a short excerpt of the track.
Baby, baby, love you, girl. Baby, baby, love you, girl. Baby, baby.
Members of the music industry call the hit single the most creatively brain-dead wasteland in modern recording history. And they say they would gladly lose millions in royalties rather than face the shame of having been involved in it. After a slap-based filibuster from rubber band minority leader Bootsy Collins, the National Funk Congress remains deadlocked over the controversial Get Up, Get Down issue. Proponents of the measure favor getting on up and staying on the scene like a sex machine, while detractors are vehement in their belief that Americans need to get down with their bad selves.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves to talk about whatever is on your mind. If you would like to join us in the conversation tonight, the telephone number is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I'm your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
I'm Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And it is Sunday, of course, and I am a reverend, so if you like, you could consider this church.
This is your sermon?
This, it could be.
The sermon from the chair?
If you want to consider it such, yes. If you are, someone who values freedom, liberty, peaceful interactions with human beings, voluntary interactions with other human beings, this could be considered your church, if you so choose.
What a wonderful religion.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, I have to admit. So I happened upon something today. Actually, it was last night as I was leaving the studio, and I actually had it from another source, but they have a paywall, so I pulled it from a different source because, well, screw those guys. This from
Pirate it. Get it for free anyway.
Yeah, this from AlJazeera.com. China has tested a new space capability with hypersonic missile. So for those of you who don't know what those words put together mean, basically China is experimenting with space missiles. Okay. Missiles from space.
Well, I mean, I hear you, and I get if you're anti-China, you might be concerned.
I'm not really anti-China.
But some people are, right? China's going to take over the world kind of a thing. But if there's like new technology for scientific advancement and exploring space, then maybe it's better than the current mechanism for getting people up there.
Like there is, if you look at it from a perspective of just the technology,
sure,
and what it is doing, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
what it can do. But at the same time, the U.S. is saying that none of their intelligence agencies had any clue that China even possessed this possibility.
Oh.
So, out of nowhere, China's just like, hey, guys, check me out.
They were too busy spying on us.
Yeah, good for China, then, for pulling the wool over those eyes.
Yeah.
Like if that seems to be more of a U.S. intelligence problem than a Chinese problem.
Or lack of intelligence.
Right. I mean, like,
case.
Okay, China's got this new technology, and we didn't know this because we almost got the underwear bomber, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because your spies suck. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know enough about what government does to keep tabs on other governments and what their governments do to keep tabs on other governments, et cetera, and so on. Yeah. So,
and the good thing for China is they're one of the superpowers, so they don't even have to worry about U.S. retaliation.
Maybe on some level, this is just a demo, and now this is the newest product coming out of China.
Could be.
All the governments get like the catalog in the mail that says, hey, weapons from China, right? It's
like the new Stark Industries
or the Alibaba.
Yeah, exactly.
The new Alibaba quarterly, catalog comes out to the government store.
Pretty soon it'll be a consumer level for $3.99.
Just in time for Christmas.
There you
go. China has tested a new space capability with a hypersonic missile, according to Financial Times. The report on Saturday cited multiple sources familiar with the test and said Beijing launched the nuclear-capable missile in August. The missile circled the Earth at low orbit before speeding towards its target, according to the sources, demonstrating an advanced space capability that caught U.S. intelligence by surprise.
Dun, dun, dun. They were too busy focusing on like William Shatner going up on his little space flight.
Yeah, surprise, mofos. Like, which is cooler, China testing a nuclear space missile that circles the Earth before it's launched, or Captain Kirk, actually visiting space?
I mean, if you're a nerd, Captain Kirk, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
3 people briefed on the intelligence, or lack of intelligence, told Financial Times that the missile missed its target by more than 20 miles. So while it's cool that it can go around the Earth and potentially drop a nuke somewhere, from a technology perspective, apparently it needs to work on its accuracy.
Well, yeah, that's pretty far off.
So does Joe Biden. I mean, as long as you're going to be blowing up brown kids and innocent people, you probably got to work on your accuracy too. So, just throwing that out there. Plus, it's a first test. Like you expect them to nail it, like pinpoint on.
It's
on the
crazy
first run.
that it could circle the Earth before it went towards its target.
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy.
Well, and that's the thing about this particular type of missile from what I've gleaned overnight. So that means I've read this article and probably 2 other ones.
Small words, Captain, small words. This is a simple audience here.
So from what I've gleaned, that's the entire point of it, is that they can launch these missiles up into space from wherever, and then it can circle the Earth for, maybe more than once, and then figure out where its target is, and then come out of space and hit it. So, and I think this article will go into it. They said the test showed that China had made astounding progress on hypersonic weapons and was far more advanced than U.S. officials realized. The FT sources said the hypersonic glide vehicle was carried by a Long March rocket, launches of which China usually announces, though the August test was kept under wraps. So it was a surprise launch. They're like, hey, we didn't tell you about this one.
Probably because of they would have to justify it if it went poorly, right? Like if it went poorly, you don't make the announcement, hey, we just launched a missile into space. It circled the Earth and only missed by 20 miles.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a positive.
Yeah, like, oops.
Then it looks like then they're on par with North Korea, who we're gonna shoot one at Japan, and then goes 100 feet off the cliff and just plops into the ocean. You guys aren't doing anything.
U.S. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said he would not comment on the specifics of the report, but he added, "We have made clear our concerns about the military capabilities China continues to pursue, capabilities that only increase tensions in the region and beyond. That is one reason why we hold China as our #1 pacing challenge." Because, they don't want competition.
I still want to know if people are still going to call the U.S. the largest military power in the world now. Because it seems like China's...
Well, I think the U.S. already has this ability. So,
you think so?
Yeah. China's just catching up.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would you think that?
Well, I think
what makes you think that?
I think we're smarter than they are.
I think this article tells us that.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure. Let's continue.
All right, a little foreshadowing here. Let's go.
5 shadow, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Along with China, the United States, Russia, and at least 5 other countries are working on hypersonic technology. Whoa, weird.
Whoa! How'd you know?
It's almost as if
because he gleaned
right in front of me.
From overnight.
Yeah, I was gleaning. I'm a big gleaner. I'm going to start a gleaning business. If y'all need some gleaning done, let a guy know. All right. Kickassgleaning.com.
Now you got to register it, man.
No, I don't. Hypersonic missiles, like traditional ballistic missiles, which can deliver nuclear weapons, can fly at more than 5 times the speed of sound.
So you'll never hear it coming.
No, you won't. You'll hear it after it's already there.
Yep.
That's usually how that works. But ballistic missiles fly high into space and to reach their target, while hypersonic flies on a trajectory low in the atmosphere, potentially reaching a target more quickly. Crucially, a hypersonic missile is maneuverable, making it harder to track and defend against, while countries like the U.S. have developed systems designed to defend against cruise and ballistic missiles. The ability to track and take down a hypersonic space missile remains questionable.
Well, maybe for the U.S., because the Chinese people are all enjoying their math classes, right? And doing all these trajectory and calculations.
Well, I think even with that,
okay,
with the current, let's just say China and the U.S. have identical missile defense systems. I think that neither of them would be able to defend against this particular type of missile.
So this is the world ender then. This is better than nukes.
Well, it's nuclear capable for sure.
Yeah.
603-283-6160. What do you think about China testing these new nuclear missiles from space? More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live is the name of the show. What do we do here? Why, we're a live call-in radio talk program.
With broken phones.
We're in the process of having our crack team of technicians take care of the phone situation. We apologize to anybody who is trying to call. But in like 5 minutes or so, the phones will be back up. And the telephone number is 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join us in the studio, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Nikki.
And Rich.
We've been talking about this article from Al Jazeera via Financial Times, where apparently China is testing nuclear-capable space missiles. The layman's terms for what's going on.
And I still think that sounds very hyperbolic, right? They're testing new technologies that have the capability to deliver nuclear missiles via space, right?
Yeah.
But is that the primary function of these things?
I believe so, yes.
Well, I thought you led it with, like, for space travel of some kind, like to get people from hither to yon.
Well, to me, the missile... It would be a weapon.
Yeah, this
right?
this is a weapon.
All right.
Specifically. I think maybe we got lost in the weeds with comparing it to Captain Kirk.
Well, because I thought you said space travel initially.
No.
Okay.
No.
But it is cool that, would you say it can go 5 times the speed of sound?
Yes.
So that's cool. That's like we're getting close to being able to travel to different solar systems.
Yes.
So this is some Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, it's a low Earth orbit space missile delivery device. So it'll deliver a nuclear-capable missile from space. They send the thing up into space. It circles the Earth.
So
as long as what? As long as it needs.
Question mark.
So it goes fast, but for a short distance. Like it's more of a sprint and less of a marathon type of deal.
Oh, I mean,
because I'm wondering if it can travel far distances or if it's just like a close
globe.
Right, but once you get into space, things kind of like slow down,
big.
and you don't need as much propulsion.
Yeah,
right, to move as fast. Right, yeah.
Then I'll be impressed.
Right.
We still got like 200 years until Star Trek times. So.
Really?
Right? Isn't it? I'm gonna really make myself sound like a nerd here.
No,
I think it's 2,270.
Yes,
is
I think
right
you're
around there.
Yeah, I think you're right. As a matter of fact, for at least Star Trek the original series.
Yeah, but don't they kind of all stretch in that span?
Well, they do now.
There's like timeline of anyways.
Thank you for being the nerd.
You're welcome.
I as a I don't know if you'd call me a Trekkie or a Trekker. There are distinct definitions for both of those words, but I am a fan of the Star Trek universe, if you will. I've watched them all of them, like every episode, every movie. I've seen them.
So I hate to get off track, but just really quick, we need a vote: Star Trek or Star Wars?
Well, see, I'm ambivalent. I love both.
Me too. But you got to pick one.
Tiebreaker then: Star Wars.
Boom.
Well, you're in the minority then.
No, because you're both and she's both, so there's 3 votes for Star Wars.
If I had to pick one, it would be Star Wars. I do have 2 Star Wars tattoos, and I have no Star Trek tattoos. So if that kind of speaks volumes.
Phaser to my head, I'd go Star Trek.
Okay.
Nerds.
Phaser or blaster?
Phaser. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the sound it makes when it opens up.
Okay.
You remember the old Nokia,
I can get down with that.
Nokia flip phones?
Yeah.
Right? I used to have one that made the sound when you open it up. I can't make the sound because I don't know how to imitate that sound, but the Star Trek chirp, the Trek chirp.
Yeah.
I don't even know the sound.
I getcha.
Also, Star Trek is responsible for shook shook. What is that? What's shook shook? That's the sound that space doors make when you walk through them.
Oh, okay. I was like, what are you talking about?
Shook shook. Right?
Yeah, you're starting to out-nerd me.
Yeah.
Anyways, carry on.
Don't worry. I can hold my own with the best of the nerds sometimes. Not all the time. There are many nerds who out-nerd me by, large stretches.
Sorry, bro. I'm just not that into Pokemon.
Oh, come on.
Into Pokemon. Somebody I was talking to recently was trying to get me to watch, I don't know, the cartoon spin-off of either Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, I haven't watched animation since the original G.I. Joe animation.
Okay, so
right?
you were missing
outside of like I do watch South Park, right? Like I watched The Simpsons. I haven't watched an episode of The Simpsons in a decade, right? So I will watch some animation here and there, but generally it's adult humor, and it's got to be like that 12-year-old funny animation, right? Ren and Stimpy, somewhere in that vein. And so I have not watched any of the animated bits for either Star Wars or Star Trek.
At least on the Star Wars side, I want to say you're missing out, because I'm like, you might have been talking to me, but I wasn't pushing it on you if we were having this conversation. I'm in the middle of the Clone Wars cartoon animated series.
Oh.
It's good.
It's good.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm an adult. Like, this looks like it's for kids. No, you can totally enjoy it as an adult.
I enjoy cartoons anyway. So,
I would probably be better off not watching, but listening.
Okay.
To those. It's something about the actual animation itself that makes me just go,
okay.
You need like a real person there.
Well, and Marvel just wrapped up like a tweener series, right, about the multiverse.
Right.
That was all animated as well.
I haven't watched those either. So
missing out.
I didn't see that.
But I'm old, so like I come from a time when, there was a time when you graduated from cartoons, right? Cartoons were for kids, and
never graduated.
You just stopped watching them. And that's what I did. I stopped watching cartoons. And I just never started again outside of the ones that I mentioned, South Park, for example.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You
I don't think
graduate.
it was you. We had a conversation similar to this, but I was having a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah, I
about the
wasn't.
same thing.
I wouldn't push it on anybody, but I do. I do enjoy.
Oh
it.
no, this is my other friend was like, "Oh, dude, you have to," and I'm like, "I don't have to."
It fills in gaps.
Now I don't want to.
It fills in gaps to stories.
So how did we get on? Oh yeah, we were talking about space missiles
and nerds,
right?
Space Wars.
Space, the final frontier.
That's the knockoff Star Wars that some low budget movie house does.
Oh, this is something that I suffer from. It's an ailment. I don't know if it's an official ailment, but I suffer from what I call GoBot syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so this is, for those of you who don't know what a GoBot is in our listening audience, at first there were Transformers, more than meets the eye.
And then there were knockoff Transformers.
And then there were sort of the generic version of the Transformers called GoBots. And they were literally less expensive to purchase,
of course,
than the Transformers were if you were to go buy the actual, the car that turns into a robot or whatever, that kind of a thing. And so, it was Christmas. I was 10 or something, I don't know. And I want Transformers for Christmas. I didn't get Transformers. I got GoBots.
Aww.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. And this has continued through my life, right? Like something really cool will come out and I can't afford it, but then there will be like the generic version of it. And then somebody will gift it to me or somehow I'll end up with it. And so, yeah, I suffer from what I call GoBot syndrome.
Brand name or bust, baby?
Oh, bust.
Bust, nah. Depending on the item, I will buy ones, cry ones.
603-283-6160. Coming up, we are going to talk about a man who plunged 9 stories from a high-rise. And did he survive? We'll find out. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding, which has killed at least 18 people. Rivers overflowed and many houses were swept away as water gushed onto the roads in several villages following the downpours on Saturday. The death toll is predicted to rise and dozens of people are unaccounted for. In the districts of Kottayam and Idukki, 2 of the worst hit areas, there were several landslides following the flash flooding. Local television reports also showed images of people desperately trying to rescue passengers from a bus that was trapped in the water. The Indian Air Force says it has deployed helicopters to assist with rescue efforts, and the National Disaster Response Force has deployed 11 search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites US officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the US has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Yes, come on and dial 603-283-6160.
Phones are working.
Yeah, phones are working. Woo-hoo. This is Free Talk Live. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
We're going to tell you about this guy who fell 9 stories from a New Jersey high-rise in just a bit. But first, let's go to the phones. We have Robert from South Carolina. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to say that I think a few minutes ago, someone at your radio station predicted that we might have to wait until the year 2270 for the technology to travel interstellar, like, with Star Trek and that kind of thing. But actually, I don't really think you can put a timeline on it, because I don't think you realize what kind of technologies would be behind that. First of all, you wouldn't be able to do it with our present technologies, because you'd have to far exceed the speed of light in order to really get around to visiting other societies. What you'd have to do is you'd have to have wormhole technology.
Right.
That would mean harvesting the power of the universe. In other words, we're at energy level 0. We'd have to get to energy level 3 to open up a wormhole through which we could pass somebody. And the fact of the matter is that it's very difficult to say how long it would take us to develop and be able to use all the underlying technologies. And that's why I would say there's no way we can even begin to predict when that would possibly be.
Yeah, let me stop you right there, Robert, because
your prediction is already wrong, Nikki.
Well, I don't think she was predicting. No. What she was saying, Robert, was that the Star Trek original series supposedly took place on, what was the date?
Around the year 2270s-ish. There.
So,
canon.
But you are correct, Robert, in that, yes, it would take some incredible technology. If you are watching the current Star Trek offering known as Discovery, they actually propose traveling on something called the Mycelium Network, which is something that actually exists. I'm trying to remember.
Isn't it like a mushroom thing?
It is. It's very much a mushroom thing. One of the
It's like an underground network of fungi, basically, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the character's name on the show now because it's the same as the University of Washington researcher who did all of the research on magic mushrooms. And he's the one who put this into play. So they used this guy's name in the show.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, the name of this particular guy in Star Trek Discovery is the same.
Would you travel through a wormhole if the technology was proven inviolable?
Yes, I would. Robert, would you travel through a wormhole?
Yeah, if the technology were, if I believe that the technology were correct, absolutely. I mean, either you can do it or you can't do it. But I certainly wouldn't experiment with something that would have to be done. But we wouldn't do that. I'm sure we would know what we were doing when we got to that point. So I would have no compunctions against it. No problem with that. Yes, absolutely.
Nikki?
I wouldn't be the first person to do it, but like if people were doing it and it was a thing, yeah, for sure.
You probably wouldn't be the first. It's like if this did happen, and I hate to say it, it's likely going to be some sort of government program. And they would likely experiment on soldiers first.
Well, okay.
Or the people.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Robert. We appreciate it.
I get it. But those are the people going like, dude, you signed up, your government property, go through the wormhole.
I know.
We got to see what happens.
Like, if I were presented the opportunity to be the first, I would totally do it.
Cool.
Like, I realize, I'm not a government obviously, I'm not in the military, I'm not in NASA, anything like that. But if, like, they're just like, we need a random volunteer, or, like, I won the lottery of, like, hey, go through the wormhole first, I'd be like, sure, why not?
I felt the same way about, like, manned Mars missions.
Yeah.
Like, if you needed a guinea pig, send me. I'm there. Sign up. On the dotted line, day one, put me on Mars.
Yeah,
so be it.
That's not me. I'm not a pioneer type of person.
The guy's name is Paul Stamets.
Oh, I was, yeah.
S-T-A-M-M-E-T-S.
I love Paul Stamets. I didn't know that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, Paul Stamets is
his name. They use his name for a character in Discovery.
They use his name for a character in Star Trek Discovery. He's the doctor that sort of engineers this mycelial network that allows the ship to sort of jump to wormhole from point A to point B without having to travel at like warp speed or something.
I totally missed that. And I think I was watching Discovery, or I got into it more before I kind of discovered Paul Stamets.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why too.
So I didn't know any of this. I started watching the first series of Discovery and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's a neat concept, kind of a thing. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, I understand you're watching the new Discovery. And I'm like, yep. And he's like, well, what do you think about Paul Stamets? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, he's like, well, they based that on like a real dude. And I'm like, no way. Right. And this particular friend of mine happens to be very into, he's a nerd about mushrooms. Okay. And other psychedelics and that kind of stuff. He studies this stuff. And so he's a huge nerd about it. And so he knew about Paul Stamets before they used him in Star Trek. And he's telling me all the background on it. He just happens to have been, I think he was teaching at the University of Washington at the time, whenever this came out, the first season. And so my friend was all about it. And he was telling me all this stuff that I can't remember. He told me a whole bunch of stuff about how he actually studied this and it's based on his actual research. And so because one of the showrunners, one of the writers of the show was also a fan of his. And so they approached him and they said, hey, can we use your name? Because we're using this as a, sort of they put a spin on it, right? Because,
of course.
They have
It's a dramatization.
Science fiction is what it is, right? And he was like, sure. And so they named this character Paul Stamets in the show.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not enough to get me to watch the show, but credit where it's due. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
You're not a Star Trek fan?
No, not at all.
Wow.
Seen zero Star Trek.
So how do you know you don't like it
series?
if you've never seen it?
Right.
Because I have no desire to start.
That's okay. Okay.
That's how I feel about animation.
Yeah, that's fine.
I already waste incredible amounts of time doing things I would otherwise be productive.
Which is why I said I would, if it was me, I wasn't pushing it. But I do watch it. I like cartoons, all kinds.
Okay.
Always have. Never really stopped watching cartoons in some form or fashion.
What do you know? All right, so this from the New York Post. No segue. We're just going right into it.
Just dive right in. Let's do it.
Well, that's kind of funny you say that. The headline reads, man plunges 9 stories from New Jersey high-rise, lands on a BMW.
That's the coolest part right there.
And survives. Do you suppose if it had been a different brand of car, like a Volkswagen or something, like he'd be dead? Do you suppose the BMW specifically is what saved his life?
If I was part of BMW marketing, that would definitely be part of it now, right? And I think if it was any lesser of a vehicle, they probably wouldn't have labeled it in the headline, right?
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't be like, on this Honda Civic.
Right. Landed on a Prius and survived.
82 Chevy Citation.
Right.
Yeah.
But BMW, man, durable and padded.
A man plunged 9 stories from a high-rise in Jersey City, landed on a BMW, miraculously survived, according to officials and a witness. The 31-year-old crashed through the roof of the black Beamer 330i, parked below 26 Journal Square at 10:20 a.m. Wednesday, then stood up with his right arm dangling at his side and asked, "What happened?"
Yeesh.
See, and for the BMW, they even list the model.
They do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a nice car.
Yeah.
Well, this particular one isn't so nice anymore.
But how cool is that, though? I mean, injured, yes, right? But just an arm at this point?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Conscious? Going like, what? I was a second ago, I was up there, and now, whose car is this?
21-year-old Christina Smith was the witness who told this to the New York Post. "I heard a big boom, and I didn't think it was a person at first," said Smith. "The back window of the car just busted out, exploded. Then the guy jumped up and started screaming. His arm was all twisted. I was like, oh, my God."
Oh, man.
I don't think she was a Valley Girl. But she says, "I was shocked. It was like being in a movie," said Smith, who works in sales and had been strolling to a nearby McDonald's. He was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "You fell."
This is awesome.
It kind of reminds me of that scene from like Gone in 60 Seconds where it's like, "Are you okay? Because you just went through a wall. Yeah, you just fell 9 stories, bro."
603-283-6160. We'll get to the bottom of this. Well, I guess we'll have our fall intercepted by a BMW and learn more about this man's story when we come back. This is Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number here in studio, if you'd like to join us, is 603-283-6160. It is the Sunday night edition. I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Church is in session. The sermon has already begun. We're into, the third segment already of First Down. Joining me,
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started right at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this very important and world-changing information. If you're already a knowledgeable cryptocurrency user, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines for all of the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com. All right, so we haven't really dug much into this story of the man who fell, 9 stories?
Yeah.
What's
the furthest you've ever fallen and survived?
Well, fallen. That's, we used to jump off of like a 2-story garage or story and a half, the big garage with like the storage area on top. We used to jump onto like 2 or 3 mattresses in the side yard. And a friend of mine actually ended up breaking his leg doing so. And so he would go to school and have the big long cast and the crutches. And then he got the crutches off. And then we were still doing the thing. And so he was like, I got the crutches off. I can finally participate again. And he breaks the other leg.
Oh,
no
man.
way. Oh, my gosh. What are the odds?
Well, at least it heals up stronger.
There you go.
So, at your own risk, of course. So I guess that would be the furthest that I've fallen and survived.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of like quarry jumping or like cliff jumping into bodies of water.
Oh.
But that's like, I don't know, 40 feet up?
Yeah.
It's like not...
Couple, 3, 4 stories.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think I've taken that big of a fall, like from any height.
Yeah,
I was a little scared of heights in high school, so I decided to overcome that by dangling off the ledge of the 3rd story.
Yeah.
But never fell.
We had the Olympic-sized pool and the diving things, the platforms, not the springboard ones, but just the platform that you would like stand on and then dive from. They're like concrete, but like
those ones that are really high up.
Yeah. Okay. We had those. I never did the top one. I only did like the one before the top. So I think that was really not that big a deal. But that's it. I mean, so like this to me is like I can't imagine falling nine stories.
9 stories.
Yeah,
and my first thought was
I don't even know if there's a building in New Hampshire that's 9 stories high.
Yeah, honestly, I have. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know.
Yeah. That's. I don't think I've seen a building 9 stories high here in New Hampshire. I've been here 2 years, 2+. So at any rate, my first thought is this guy trying to commit suicide? What's going on? Richie, you're telling me that may not be the case. Will it be revealed?
I skimmed the article. I gleaned the article a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah, and it's revealed that it doesn't appear that way.
Did you want to? Do you have it up, or should I?
I mean, I do have it up. Do you want me to just pick up where you left off?
If you want to, yes.
Okay. Oh my God! I was shocked. It's like in a movie," said the girl who works in sales, strolling nearby McDonald. He was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "You fell." I was thinking, thank God, it probably helped that he had a fluffy jacket on.
Oh my! I don't think so, but sure.
She said, adding she thought the coat may have shielded him from deeper wounds. Okay, maybe deeper wounds.
Yeah, like maybe like glass and stuff, but I don't think it would have like prevented broken bones.
In the picture that they have in this particular post, they do show shattered glass, and he is wearing a puffy jacket.
Yeah, it looks like where he's crawling out of. It looks like it could also have been like a sunroof, moonroof type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that could have absorbed a little bit of the energy and dispersed it in the broken glass on the way down.
Yep.
She quickly called 911, then took jaw-dropping photos and videos. Oh, say good. See, she dialed 911 first, and then
and then she went all TMZ on him.
Right. Of the aftermath, including graphic footage of the man screaming in pain with upper body injuries. The video also shows a face mask strap still dangling from the guy's ear.
Thank God he was wearing a mask.
Despite roughly falling.
Yeah, he might have died if he wasn't wearing the mask.
Those COVID masks work. They keep the virus off you and prevent you from falling.
Don't let CNN get a hold of this. That's exactly what they'll say. This man would have died if it wasn't for his surgical mask.
Luckily, he had on his COVID mask. The man who jumped from an open window on the 9th floor was rushed to a hospital by ambulance and was in critical condition Thursday, said New Jersey city spokeswoman Kimberly Walsh.
So he did jump.
Well, but it doesn't. It goes on, but I don't remember it being like a suicide.
Okay,
he wasn't trying. I don't think.
We'll find out. Continue.
The man didn't work inside the building, and it was unclear why he was there. Workers and witnesses said he refused to give cops his name and was not being cooperative as of Thursday afternoon, according to a source familiar with the case.
Attaboy.
Yeah. He fell into the car through the sunroof. There you go. Then climbed out of the car and fell onto the ground. He was trying to get up, but people were telling him to stay down. You don't know how hurt you are. Said Mark Bordeaux, 50, who works in the building and saw the aftermath of the jump. So he stayed there until police and ambulance came. He kept saying, "Leave me alone." Oh, yeah, I guess so. I want to die. Maybe what the hell was I reading then?
I don't see another purpose to jump from out of a 9-story window.
I mean, entertainment, obviously.
Understood.
Obviously. Just to ruin this person's BMW.
You saw one of his arms was clearly broken, but he was conscious. He was moving, he said. I maybe it was just a different source. I can't imagine having a different article, but I was reading something where it was someone who fell, but wasn't pushed and didn't jump. Like it was unclear how they got up there and fell. He wanted to die. That's his agenda, but God had something else in mind. Police were investigating Thursday, but he said the incident doesn't involve suspicious circumstances, according to Wallace Scalzone. People who have plunged from much lower heights have died or killed others in recent months, including a man who jumped from a parking garage in San Diego, California in September and landed on a woman below, killing them.
We covered that briefly on Free Talk Live, where the dude jumped, and instead of killing himself, he landed on somebody else, killed both of them, apparently. They do have some photos of this car, and it is wrecked.
Yep.
Like the roof is caved in, so much so that you can see the headrests of the back seats fully exposed, as if it was sort of a convertible of sorts, but the frame still exists on either side of it. Glasses everywhere, of course. And I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't say that this guy's car is stolen. Can you imagine being the guy who owned this Beamer?
That's what I'm saying. If it was based on what I know about Beamer owners, he's probably more concerned about the car.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like this guy. So. How am I supposed to get to work today?
I mean, what kind of a tale would you be able to tell, right? Imagine, let's say it's a dude and he owns the Beamer and he goes home, let's say he's married, and he goes home to the wife and he's like, "You'll never guess what happened to me today."
Or to make the call to the boss like, "Hey, I'm not going to make it in. You're not going to believe it. This dude just landed on my car."
If I were this guy's boss and he called in like that, I'd be like, "I got to have some evidence, yo. I need some pics. I need video."
Yeah. It'll be on TMZ in the morning, man. Just wait for the news cycle.
Wow. Joyzy. You never know what's going to happen.
Crazy place.
I always wondered, why, if someone was trying to commit suicide, why is jumping what you would pick? There are so many better ways to, do it rather than to jump. There's just so much room for error, clearly, because this guy landed on a car instead of the pavement, which is probably what he was expecting. But
the biological imperative for survival is very strong.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
Right. But the act of jumping costs nothing. People jump from things all the time. So you can overcome the biological imperative to not jump by simply jumping.
And so what happens so what happens is during we'll call it flight, during the fall, if you will, is when your biological survival mechanisms kick in.
Right.
And you can't do anything about it. So you've made the decision to jump, and that's a decision you can overcome the mechanisms.
Right.
But then during the fall, your mechanisms all kick in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people who have committed suicide this way, while they're falling, oh crap.
Yep.
Right. I wish I wouldn't have done this.
There's a weird psychological thing that when you get to really high heights and look down, there's an impetus to want to jump.
No, not for me.
Understood.
But
no. People experience that.
Yeah.
The desire to jump, even though they're not suicidal at all.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, I have a very healthy fear of heights. And when I go, even sightseeing, you go up on a tall building to do the overlook, my legs get all gelatinous and weird. Yeah, I don't like that at all. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us. Hour number 2 is next. What did the U.S. Treasury Department say about the goods shortages?
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding, which has killed at least 18 people. Rivers overflowed and many houses were swept away as water gushed onto the roads in several villages following the downpours on Saturday. The death toll is predicted to rise and dozens of people are unaccounted for. In the districts of Kottayam and Idukki, two of the worst hit areas, there were several landslides following the flash flooding. Local television reports also showed images of people desperately trying to rescue passengers from a bus that was trapped in the water. The Indian Air Force says it has deployed helicopters to assist with rescue efforts, and the National Disaster Response Force has deployed 11 search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites US officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the US has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the sense of fear expressed by some politicians in the UK following the murder last week of Conservative Party lawmaker Sir David Amess, as he was meeting some of his constituents who had made appointments to see him. His killing, the second of an elected lawmaker in 5 years, has caused widespread shock and horror in the UK. Lisa Nandy is a Member of Parliament with the opposition Labour Party, first elected 11 years ago.
It's when you're walking the streets and when you're out and about. There've been a number of times when I've been threatened or my staff have been threatened, and I think it is getting worse. But I also think it brings out the best in people. That, even just this morning, as I've been doing the media round, although I'm still getting a regular sort of drumbeat of abuse on social media, my inbox is absolutely full this morning of people saying thank you for what you and other MPs are doing, and people are like that in the real world as well. And that's why I think this is so important, and we need to take it seriously, because most people want their MPs to be able to represent them. This isn't just an attack on us, this is an attack on anybody who believes in a free society.
Police say the assassination of Sir David Amess may have been an act of terrorism. It has certainly sparked a debate about whether more needs to be done now to protect members of Parliament, while finding a way of continuing to allow them to mix freely with the people they represent. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding which has killed at least 18 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. And China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagrati Dave in Washington.
Regarded by many as one of the fastest rising online personalities today, social media rock star Ryan Wasserman has 250,000 loyal Twitter followers and earns $28,000 a year at his job as an administrative assistant. The Onion spoke to the online luminary at KPL Insurance, where he works from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and makes roughly $13 an hour.
I'm just trying to bring my unique perspective to everybody. That's what my followers expect, and I like to think I deliver.
Wasserman, who currently has $900 in his checking account, regularly engages in conversations with high-profile celebrities and takes the bus to work from the two-bedroom apartment he shares with a 23-year-old he met on Craigslist.
Actually, I just started a Tumblr because sometimes 140 characters just doesn't cut it. I just had a Google Glass tweet that Questlove retweeted again. KPL, this is Ryan. Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Kicking off the second hour of tonight's program.
Hour number 2.
This is Free Talk Live. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. The telephone number, if you would like to join us, is 603-283-6160. Operators are standing by. I don't know. They're probably not standing by. I usually screen the calls myself, but, you know. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
And Nikki.
Richie Rich.
I always have the Ginsu Knives commercial stuck in my head. I'm a child of that era. You know, now how much would you pay?
But wait, there's more.
There's more. $500, $600, $1,000.
5 easy payments.
If you act now, you also get absolutely free this set of Ginsu knives.
I think the coolest thing was when those things got a retail shop, like the As Seen on TV store.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh man, now I can just go buy it. Whole bunch of junk.
Over time, I've purchased many things that have the As Seen on TV logo. One of them is the magnetic screen door.
Okay.
Right, that hangs over, entryway of your choice. What was it? Oh, I have these. I have this thing in the kitchen. It's basically a square, and you put your coffee maker on it, so you can slide it out easily from underneath the cabinetry, and then slide it back when you're done using it.
We had the George Foreman grill growing up. That was our classic As Seen on TV thing. But nowadays with the internet, it's like the funnest part was like being a kid and your like parents let you dial the number and you like that was the best part. So now the internet has kind of, ruined the novelty of that.
As a product of the internet, like generational thing, I think I diverge with a lot of liberty-minded individuals where I'm okay with targeted advertisement on social media because I have purchased things off of Facebook
as a result.
Yeah. I go, great. Like if I bought some Crocs for work because I was working in a kitchen. Makes sense, man. When you're back of the house, it's legit.
It's a thing. Yeah.
It's a thing. But I wasn't even like looking for shoes. I just thought to myself, like, I need new shoes. And then Facebook goes like, we read your mind. Here's an ad for Crocs. Buy one, get one 50% off. I'm like, I'll take 2.
How did they know?
Right. So I don't care. Like they knew and I bought. Like that's
See, I don't
didn't
like
have to
that
go shopping.
because I'm a sucker and I will buy so much stuff that I don't need.
Really?
So I've actually gotten like a lot better about
During
this.
the break, let's have a chat. I have something to sell you.
All right.
Goldex.
Before we go on, I do need to say, please welcome News Talk 98.3 FM and 1290 AM KGVO in Missoula, Montana. They've been carrying our show for, I think, a couple of weeks now, but we welcome
just
them.
Found out.
We welcome them officially today. So thank you for listening in Missoula, and also 1240 AM KLYQ in Hamilton, Montana. That's a News Talk radio station, 1240 AM KLYQ in Hamilton, Montana. Welcome and thank you for carrying this program.
And who's going to be the first one of you to make that call?
603-283-6160. All right. I talked about this just as we were going to the break in the last segment. But this seems... there's so much to say about this particular subject. Well, let's just get into it. The headline, this is from RT.com. The U.S. Treasury Deputy Secretary warns unvaxxed Americans that shortages will continue until everyone is jabbed. So for those of you listening who don't know what they might be insinuating here, if you're not familiar, there are hundreds of cargo ships on both the West Coast and the East Coast that are waiting to come to port to unload the goods that have been ordered and paid for, and et cetera and so on. Mainly due to, the government lockdowns and that kind of a thing is why the backup exists.
Well, and in California, I think there was like a Foundation for Economic Education fee article.
Yes.
That basically said it's California policy that got rid of all the truckers, reduced all the stevedores, and everyone that would be doing all this work to move it on out are not allowed to because of California's policy.
Because, they have a bunch of legislation and that type of thing. In addition to all of that, they're not allowing these ports to operate 24/7. They're only operating for like one shift a day, both on the East Coast and West Coast. There was another article that I read where Florida was like, hey, over here, guys, we have a port. We're open. Come deliver your goods over here. And I thought that was funny that like a state had to like,
yeah.
Hey,
just get it on the trucks.
Yeah.
We're connected to the rest of the United States too.
But this is so typical, like, about what has been happening the past 2 years. The government is messing all this stuff up with all of their lockdowns and their mandates, and they're blaming it on COVID, or they're blaming it on unvaccinated people. It's like, and people fall for that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's the state that is messing up everything, as they always do.
If they're blaming it on the unvaxxed people, per the article, I think that bolsters the conspiracy theory that it's manufactured, right?
Absolutely.
It certainly lends to that particular point of view. So the Deputy Secretary at the U.S. Treasury has put Americans on notice that the only way to end the plague of empty shelves around the country is for every resident to be vaccinated. Like, it's like
hogwash.
It's like how are those two things connected? That's like hitting myself in the foot with a shovel for your mortgage.
But it's connected because once they get to a certain level of vaccination, then they will let the ships port. Then they will let people go and unload the ships. Then they will let the trucks go.
I mean,
but they're not going to allow all that.
Is that not like some form of blackmail?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it lends credence to the fact that it's manufactured. Because they could do that now, right, and just have it be an acceptable level of COVID risk, right? But they won't.
The frank warning came off as a threat to many. Wally Adeyemo, I think I'm mispronouncing that, Adeyemo, the Biden administration's second highest official in the Treasury Department, appeared to publicly blackmail the still sizable portion of Americans who have not been vaccinated against COVID-19 during a Thursday ABC interview, seemingly blaming them for the ongoing shortages of consumer goods that have led many to mock the president as Empty Shelves Joe.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. We'll talk about Let's Go, Brandon in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Actually, let's do it now. Since we've brought it up.
I've seen another picture or article where like Trader Joe's sent out a cease and desist because people were making Trader Joe's.
So that's hilarious. So I was just scrolling through some of the comments. I can't really go through them all, but there were some comments from some of our listeners or watchers over at video.freetalklive.com.
You guys are so vulgar.
They are very vulgar.
Naughty.
But, of course, let's go, Brandon, right? And so if you guys know what that means, great. If not, bust out your magic rectangle and look it up because it's hilarious.
It's a dog whistle, so we're not going to define it for you because that's how dog whistles work.
People say hello. They call this... So somebody was talking when we were talking about the nuclear missile from space. Somebody says, rods of God, anybody? And we actually covered that here on Free Talk Live, which is also an insane device, right? They launch a satellite up into space and they just drop, literally, just steel rods from space. And they have, because they come through the atmosphere at such a velocity, they have the impact of almost a nuclear bomb.
Nice.
Those are called rods of God. Should a man with lip rings be on the radio? Well, I think so. I mean,
does it matter?
You know.
Well, he is, so.
I'm sure there are multiple men on radio with lip rings. Somebody says tattoos are immoral.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like religious people.
They all drink too much Kool-Aid.
That's why I don't like morals.
Hey, the Kool-Aid only works if everybody drinks it, okay?
You got a problem with Kool-Aid?
Oh, yeah.
Stuff's good. I'll take some Kool-Aid.
It's about speaking the truth and exposing untruths. Okay, I can get down with that. More Let's Go, Brandon. Okay. And then some more vulgar stuff, so. Anyway, video.freetalklive.com. I don't know why you'd want to watch it, but people do. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join us, we'll get to your calls and thoughts momentarily. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
For way too long, the federal government has overstepped its bounds, refusing to abide by the Constitution and committing heinous war crimes both abroad and at home. They've destroyed the currency, and they don't seem to care about their routine violations of individual rights. Even if that wasn't the case, though, isn't it absurd that people in California or some other state thousands of miles away from you gets to determine who rules over you? At nhexit.us, we're trying to change all of that. We've proposed an amendment to the New Hampshire Constitution that would allow New Hampshire to declare its independence from the shenanigans, warmongering, and economic destruction wrought by the United States government. Sign the petition today at nhexit.us. Let's see New Hampshire exit the U.S.
So we were kind of talking about that at dinner, and one of the things came up like, well, what if the United States puts a blockade on the borders and cuts off Maine? I was like, we should probably invade Maine. And that would triple the size of the greater New
Maine's
Hampshire.
Cool.
Right?
I can get down with Maine.
We should do no invasion because it's a violation of the NAP.
God, yeah, fine, Captain.
We
I
could
thought it was funny.
We could just ask them, hey,
ask
do you
them
want to be
politely
New
to
Hampshire?
join. Yeah.
Would you like to be Western New Hampshire or Southern New Hampshire? Wait, where's Maine? Or Southwest? They're
That'd be
Eastern
east.
New Hampshire.
Yeah, Northeast.
Yes.
Yeah. Or just call it Greater New Hampshire at that point.
Yeah, oh, I like that.
I don't see. I have a problem with calling stuff great or greater.
Okay.
Right, like Great Britain. Like, okay, where's just mediocre Britain?
Liverpool.
Right. Just call it colder New Hampshire.
Okay.
We'll talk more about all sorts of things, but first, let's go to your calls and thoughts. Who we got first? We've got Major Payne calling from Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, my brothers of the chill. I'm north of the 45th parallel here too.
So you got your winter gear on?
Well, I got 10 cord of wood coming here, loggers cords, in a couple 3 days.
That should take care of you.
Winter, it's still hot. It's not even
but
cooling off yet.
It gets cold quick, and I got a lot of wood to cut. I got to put it into stove size.
So what's on your mind tonight, Major?
Anyway, you guys are talking about the libtards in California running off all the truckers with a doo-doo covered tax stick and whatnot, and the ports being shut down. And,
yes.
8-hour shift when you're
That's
trying
how we
to feed
put it,
the whole
too.
country after an epidemic is nuts. But Michigan has the rest of the country, as far as all the coastal states, by the cojones if they want to use it, because we are connected by the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Atlantic Ocean.
Right, and there are...
We can provide Canada with goods, all the states around us.
Yep.
I mean, that's feeding the Midwest right there.
Yep,
And getting all of our stuff out at the same time.
Any of the Great Lakes states have ports, right? Minnesota has one, Wisconsin's got one, Chicago's got one, Michigan's got one. Anywhere along that St. Lawrence Seaway, you're absolutely correct. It is connected, and ships can get to and from through those avenues. So,
then you got the Erie Canal connecting to the Mississippi.
Yep. Absolutely.
So are you saying shippers have an option and they're choosing to stay outside of California for financial reasons?
Well, there's so much stuff that comes from Ching Lee land, and that comes out the Pacific. They don't want to do the Horn.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's why there's two sort of bottlenecks here. There's one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast.
Right.
But the East Coast could very easily, like Major Payne is saying, make some arrangements for some goods to come through the St. Lawrence Seaway and be, picked up at some other port in the Great Lakes states. Or it could, redirect some of their ships south to Florida.
Right.
It's going to cost them a little bit more, but like how much has it cost them already with these ships just sort of sitting there not being unloaded and their goods not moving?
Right. So when you say terms like they could very easily,
trucks.
I go like, well, why don't they then? What's the motivation not to? What's the incentive?
I don't know.
Because that doesn't cause mass panic and shortages.
But do you think the shippers?
Is Michigan. We make the trucks. Where would you send it?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the shipping companies, right? The people that have a profit motive to unload, right? Because turn and burn, right? You unload, you load it up with something else, and you hit the next port,
right?
Right? Why would they fall in line with government diktats if they have alternatives out?
You know the language they speak, which is coercion and violence.
The state does.
So exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So if these people are being, or these companies are being threatened or bribed or whatever, who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Major, your thoughts?
Well, I got a second if you give me a quick ditty on you. You were talking about Maine being liberated and annexed to New Hampshire there.
I thought it would be funny.
If we had the government back in the day that we have today that would just print money and throw it at anything, there was an expedition that did not get funding that tried to get up into Canada and chase the British, with their tails between their legs after we kicked their asses out of here. But they couldn't get government funding, so it failed. But if we had the libtards of today back then, we would now have Canada.
Like Maine being as independent as they are, right? If the New Hampshire exit goes through, right? Do you think they would want to stay as part of the United States or join this newly liberated, country? With whom they probably have more in common than the greater United States.
I don't know. Major?
You guys have a border that disconnects Maine from the rest of the U.S. proper, right?
That's the point. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so they pretty much have to annex themselves or somehow.
No, because we also have Alaska, and Alaska is just fine going through Canada to get to the...
Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying they've been disconnected from USA proper, so it just kind of makes sense to roll with the punches.
Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, Major. To talk a little bit, you said that at dinner tonight you were talking about, what that means, and I just want to remind.
I said it in jest,
right? No, but I just want
I'm not saying we should invade Maine.
I just want to remind our listeners that New Hampshire has a Canadian border.
Yeah,
and New Hampshire also has a coast.
Right,
we have a sea coast, a port. So we, if New Hampshire declares its independence from the United States, it has the geography to support trade,
right?
Even if the United States decides to do a blockade or something.
That was one of the selling points put forth for the the Free State Project, the New Hampshire migration, right? Like why one of the reasons why you should pick New Hampshire when it was up for a vote was, hey, we've got an international border and a water port.
Yes,
right? We are not beholden. We are not landlocked to the greater United States.
Right.
So it makes it easy.
And very good points. Also, to the ability of New Hampshire to support itself, I'm just talking agriculturally here, right? So there's enough farms there. The growing season is just fine. Yeah, it's the Granite State, but people have lived here long enough. They've established gardens and all that kind of stuff. It seems like it wouldn't really be that difficult if it was cut off from all of that kind of stuff. If the U.S. decided to put sanctions on New Hampshire to prevent goods from flowing, I think it would get by just fine.
Absolutely, we would.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts coming up.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate. Results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great. Homelessness and hunger to eliminate. Let the wealth accumulate. Don't wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding, which has killed at least 18 people. Rivers overflowed and many houses were swept away as water gushed onto the roads in several villages following the downpours on Saturday. The death toll is predicted to rise and dozens of people are unaccounted for. In the districts of Kottayam and Idukki, two of the worst hit areas, there were several landslides following the flash flooding. Local television reports also showed images of people desperately trying to rescue passengers from a bus that was trapped in the water. The Indian Air Force says it has deployed helicopters to assist with rescue efforts, and the National Disaster Response Force has deployed 11 search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites US officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the US has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. We're a nationally syndicated radio talk program that also broadcasts to many different, websites, podcasts, grabbers. We're streaming live, many different video sites, video.freetalklive.com. You can get our Odyssey stream there.
Lip rings and all.
And tattoos.
And,
That's immoral.
Big goatee,
Whatever.
all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't pick on your goatee, though.
That's because they had your face rings too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You've upstaged me yet again, Richie.
I'm sorry.
I'm feeling kind of left out. I'm the only person in this room without a beard. Even Coconut, the dog, kind of has a beard.
Coconut does kind of have a beard. It's true.
Just tie your hair up the way you had it earlier.
Right?
Yeah, I prefer non-bearded ladies, but if you want to go to it, I'm sure there's a Spirit Halloween store near here. If you want to go and get the glue on beard for next week or something.
Probably should. That'd be funny. Maybe I'll do that.
Okay. Last year, we told you about Intercoin, which can help any business and organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. Now, Intercoin.org has launched worldwide Is there a token that you want to launch or an app you want to build? If so, go to intercoin.org, enter your email address, and the team will get in touch to learn about what your needs are. And while you're there, if you want, get some Intercoins for yourself. Intercoin.org. All right. We were talking about New Hampshire, a whole bunch of stuff, but we had mentioned that we have an international border and a port.
Right.
A seaport. Also, too, with the advent of things like, Mr. Muskie guy and his space travels.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right? We could, theoretically get stuff delivered either by drone. Right, there are some airports here, right? So they could very easily fly in, drone aircraft, or from space if we have to.
Using China's hypersonic missile.
Well, no, we just build one of those spaceports that's attached by like a giant cable to the Earth, so an elevator can go up and down the giant cable.
Your Amazon package connected to your rod of God has been delivered to your port.
Gosh, please don't do that.
Don't give Bezos ideas.
All right, let's go back to the phones and the fun. We've got David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yeah, loads of fun.
Sorry, I'm boring you, David.
Yeah, you sound
No,
very,
I'm boring you, man. It's the other way around. I'm boring you.
Don't be boring.
What's on your mind, David?
Well, I can't help it, man. If the state of New Mexico wouldn't have trafficked my kids, it could have been exciting, but instead I got to be boring because this is boring material when the state of New Mexico traffics your children illegally. So last night I followed Major Payne as well, and I commented on what he said. He had made a comment about what is essentially standards of evidence, rules of evidence, what's admissible and what's not, and what meets the standard in a criminal case. He was talking about beyond the reasonable doubt, and that's a higher standard of evidence than in civil cases. Civil cases are the preponderance of the evidence,
right,
or clear and convincing evidence. And so what I said is he was complaining that what the government was in the habit of doing was taking testimony from 2 or 3 people, jail snitches, stuff like that, saying that they bought drugs, and there's no hard evidence whatsoever. It was just circumstantial testimony,
right?
where the person, well, it's not hearsay because they got the actual guy in the witness seat under oath lying, saying that he bought drugs of this quantity over this length of time.
Right, but they don't have pictures of the actual thing or like some other record of the transaction. It's witness testimony only, right?
Yeah, you got no hard evidence whatsoever, just witness testimony. And so I said I could one-up that, and then I gave the example of the children's and families courts that do not even need that circumstantial evidence.
Right.
They will convict you and write legal orders based on not even allegations, because those witness testimony, that's at least an allegation of a crime. The witness is alleging a crime was committed. They're at least alleging a crime was committed. Now, in the children and families courts, what they will do is they will accept as evidence not even an allegation, but an insinuation. So rather than saying that Mr. Olson sexually abused his children, because that never happened, what they'll say is, Mr. Olson changed the diapers of his children.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what do you think that might mean, Judge?
There are many. There are many cases, David, that go right along with what you're saying, where basically the judges or even the caseworkers, when it comes to family court, can do things based on how they feel. And thank you for the call tonight.
Don't we need that though when we're talking about the children? Like, don't they need to be removed from a potentially bad situation?
Yeah, and put in even worse situations?
Maybe. But at least until the investigation is complete.
There's so many better ways to do it.
Not based on a feeling, right? You have to do these things based on evidence. Otherwise, you end up with exactly what we have, which is a hugely corrupt family court system. More corrupt than the actual regular court system, which we rail on constantly here on Free Talk Live.
Then you'll get one anecdotal story about where they didn't act and it was a bad situation, and then they'll say, see, if only we were able to act on the
Well, if only there wasn't a gang that claims a monopoly on violence that put all this system together that doesn't act as an actual system. An actual system is evaluated based on how well it outputs the desired outcome, which the system, the court system, the government, the statist system, the antique, barbaric, murderous system is not evaluated in such a way. When's the last time the United States government gave you a report card on how well they were protecting individual rights?
Never.
Never.
But I'll tell him right now, you get an F.
Absolutely, they do.
So we go back to the charitable orphanage situations, right? Leave it up to the churches, because that worked out so well for years.
I mean, it probably worked better than the state.
Yeah.
Probably.
And even like I've talked to people who are foster parents who are like those like rare good foster parents, and the stories my friend had told me were like horrific. Like he had one kid in his custody who was on probably like 15 different medications. He would have, and like half of them are for one thing and then half of them are just for the side effects of the other thing. And they just use these kids to make money off of. So you got like doctors and the pharmaceutical companies, and like everybody has their hands in these kids to, that sounded weird, but everybody has their hands in, the pockets, so to speak.
There are puppets in that way, yeah.
Yeah, to get money, to, to somehow.
Yes, because human beings respond to incentives. And period. I mean, across the board in any culture, human beings respond to incentives. So you have to look at how the incentives are structured. Are the incentives in place for foster parents to be proper parents to the children that they foster? Right? To treat them, well, to do right by them. Are the incentives in place for that to occur? No. What incentives are in place? Financial incentives.
Yep.
Financial incentives to get paid, to treat children as if they are child labor, to treat children as if they are experiments, to treat children as if they are something other than children. And that is horrific.
So your friend is in the foster care system as a good parent, but all the vetting that they had to undergo to get that point?
Well, and not even just that. It's like he's trying to make a difference in these kids' lives, right? He's trying to do good to them. And he can't because the state is so involved in their, like, the kid is being forced to take meds, and, he has to take a sleeping pill and then a pill to wake up, and then, a pill for constipation and then a pill for the opposite. So it's like there's only so much people can do, and there's just like the state getting in the way of this guy being a good foster parent. And he tries his best, but it's like almost impossible.
Yeah, because the state is monitoring these children as if they are on some sort of insane house arrest.
Yeah, little cash cows on house arrest.
603-283-6160 is the telephone number here. We've got more of your calls and thoughts on the way. This is the live Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. More's coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yeah! 603-283-6160. Come on and dial that number if you want to join us. I'm sorry, Richard.
I said, what am I supposed to do with that information?
Pick up the phone and call. Talk about whatever's on your mind, if you like, on nationally syndicated talk radio, as well as the internet, live as well, yes. Here at Free Talk Live. That's the name of this show, if you're just tuning in. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
And we're here, and we're doing this show.
That's cool.
I know, like, just brilliant, right? Like,
I'm having a good time.
Way to state the obvious. Captain Obvious.
If you're listening at Sunday night. Between 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
It is. We have more calls to go to. Let's go to Dustin in Kansas. Dustin, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, DJs. I've got a little background sound I'm picking up. Hope it's not bothering you. You know about the government's genocide. The NRA is still supported, and the Masonic Templars went down. The Second Bill of Rights is a criminal threat or a law to kill. Catch this. Boston, Massachusetts, mass shootings, all kin died. That comes from Boston, Massachusetts, and just like the society breaking down, that's their freedom of what they're endorsing, and that I wouldn't doubt it in the Middle East, Iraq's genocide. We were there possibly from Desert Storm, and it might have came from our government about Saddam Hussein's genocide.
Okay, thanks for the call, Dustin. Like we said, anybody can call 603-283-6160.
Got to give him a fair shake, though.
He
was getting to a point somewhere.
No,
a few.
I don't think he was.
They're turning the frogs gay.
Richie Jones?
Sure, why not?
You don't strike me as a Alex Jones fan.
Oh, you were mistaken.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't believe everything Alex Jones says.
Yeah.
However, I was talking to this about at dinner tonight, and I said, like, on a long enough timeline, Alex Jones is right.
That's kind of true, and I kind of like his energy too. You know, like I like that, like pow, he got going.
It takes three of us. Alex Jones does this by himself for longer.
Yeah,
and rants longer, louder, and faster than all of us.
I won't say that I've never listened and or watched, but
it's impressive, is what it is.
What I've gotten out of the Alex Jones show when I have tuned in is the guests that he has on. I find them to be far more interesting than Alex Jones himself.
Okay.
So it's led me to some really neat other people. Like early on, that's how I discovered like pre-cancer Molyneux.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He was on the Alex Jones show. Somebody else was on the Alex Jones show.
He interviewed Donald Trump during his campaign.
Yeah.
Like they were buddies.
Right? But it's been a decade since I've tuned in.
Okay.
At least, if not more.
I don't listen to it on the regular, but I will say this about that show. You have to be able to separate the facts from the entertainment, right? Because he'll state a lot of things that are true and then extrapolate beyond that, and that's the entertainment value. And if you can suss out, right, just the facts, then it can be informational. And then I was talking to someone about, the fluoride in the water or whatever, and like the source that I gave him was what's the InfoWars
website, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I go like, they go like, well, I can't trust this because it's InfoWars. And I go, that's fine. But if you go to InfoWars, like despite all the, conspiracy theory stuffs in the articles there, they're all sourced.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can read the primary source and, take that away from the, conspiracy claim that comes after it. But he's got the documents.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of sources on those websites that you can, drill down as deep as you want and come to whatever conclusion you want.
Yeah.
But if you can separate it out, right, from the hyperbole.
Let's continue with your calls and thoughts. We have Bad Slave calling. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, thank you. I don't know why I was delayed there, but that's okay.
Because we don't care.
Thank you for taking my call. Yeah.
Yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
So this, let's go, Brandon.
1, 2, 3. Let's go, Brandon.
Go, Brandon.
Good job, Nikki.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys. I didn't know what was going on.
Hang on, Bad Slave, go ahead.
An interesting side note, I think, is that the Walk Away project, which is also run by a Brandon, who was arrested for the January 6th stuff.
Oh.
And he wanted to clear himself of that stuff because he's got 500,000 of people that walked away from the Democratic Party, which I think is a
okay.
good thing.
Okay, but this is the first time hearing of this walk away campaign or whatever it is. What I don't understand is why isn't it walk away from the government, like completely, like the state?
Well,
walk away from the
because
idea of statism completely.
You've got to do these things in stages.
No, you don't.
If you're dragging these people out of the Democratic Party and you get them to do that, that's all that was the expectation is that they would just leave the Democratic Party. They didn't have to join the Republican Party.
But that's like saying, oh, well, if you have cancer, you have to take part of the cancer out in steps. So you go in and you only take like 10% of the cancer out. No, you go in and you take all of the cancer out at one time.
So here's another weird thing that was in the news.
That's
go ahead,
That's the way that people work, Captain. They don't work that way. It's just that, if you can get 500,000 people to walk away from the idiots in the Democratic Party, then a good thing has been done.
Well,
and so
they're just going to go follow idiots in another party.
Yeah.
Well, here's the weird thing about this whole walk away thing. right? Trump.
Hang on, go ahead, Richie.
Trump has come out recently and basically told his base not to vote until they solve the voter fraud issue.
Weird.
Right? Good that he's saying that, because I'm I don't vote. I don't.
Yeah, I'm down with the not voting.
No masters,
right.
No rulers. Yeah.
Right. But from a political standpoint, you're telling people don't go vote.
So
until they figure out the voter fraud, right? Which it's not going to happen.
It seems like that could be a reverse psychology tactic, right?
Maybe.
I am politician X. Don't vote for me. Right?
Maybe.
Kind of a thing.
I'm trying to figure out the 4D chess move, but if you got walk away from the Democrats and Trump saying Republicans don't vote, good thing.
All right. Bad Slave, we interrupted your point. Go ahead.
I was just going to go on to say that 500,000 people is still on tap, and they're still working the walk away process, and I think that we should endorse that. And the guy that headed that up, that founded Walk Away, was Brandon
Straka.
Yep. And he can be also Let's Go Brandon. And be pushing, because they've got stuff lined up to really work the midterms, and I'm happy to not have Democrats winning.
But they can walk away all they want. They're still going to vote Democrat on paper when the mail-in ballots come in.
Hey, thanks for the call, Bad Slave.
I don't want Democrats or Republicans. I think a lot of people tend to think that Democrats are worse than Republicans, but they're both terrible. Can we just let's walk away from all of it?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do we have to? And the Walk Away Foundation or campaign, whatever it is a pro-Trump thing. So it's not a libertarian or anarchist type of thing. It is a Republican conservative thing.
It's a partisan party campaign, right?
So what's the point?
Which is my point. They're just, we're going to move these people from one party to another, and we're still going to have a huge empire, which is what the United States is now. It's an empire.
So the liberty-minded people have to intercept them after they've walked away before they've walked to something
They need
else.
incentive. We should give them miniature Pac-Mans and call it the Waka Waka Way campaign. 603-283-6160. Take control of the airwaves. Talk about whatever's on your mind. Hour number 3 of Free Talk Live is next.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding, which has killed at least 18 people. Rivers overflowed and many houses were swept away as water gushed onto the roads in several villages following the downpours on Saturday. The death toll is predicted to rise and dozens of people are unaccounted for. In the districts of Kottayam and Idukki, 2 of the worst hit areas, there were several landslides following the flash flooding. Local television reports also showed images of people desperately trying to rescue passengers from a bus that was trapped in the water. The Indian Air Force says it has deployed helicopters to assist with rescue efforts, and the National Disaster Response Force has deployed 11 search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites US officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the US has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the sense of fear expressed by some politicians in the UK following the murder last week of Conservative Party lawmaker Sir David Amess, as he was meeting some of his constituents who had made appointments to see him. His killing, the second of an elected lawmaker in 5 years, has caused widespread shock and horror in the UK. Lisa Nandy is a Member of Parliament with the opposition Labour Party, first elected 11 years ago.
It's when you're walking the streets and when you're out and about, there've been a number of times when I've been threatened or my staff have been threatened, and I think it is getting worse. But I also think it brings out the best in people. That, even just this morning, as I've been doing the media round, although I'm still getting a regular sort of drumbeat of abuse on social media, my inbox is absolutely full this morning of people saying thank you for what you and other MPs are doing, and people are like that in the real world as well. And that's why I think this is so important, and we need to take it seriously, because most people want their MPs to be able to represent them. This isn't just an attack on us, this is an attack on anybody who believes in a free society.
Police say the assassination of Sir David Amess may have been an act of terrorism. It has certainly sparked a debate about whether more needs to be done now to protect members of Parliament while finding a way of continuing to allow them to mix freely with the people they represent. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding which has killed at least 18 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. And China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
From Bette Davis's first role as a piece of chocolate cake in the 1931 film Palmy Days to the discovery of Niagara Falls in 1996, The Onion looks back at this week in history. On May 16, 1929, the first Academy Awards were handed out in categories such as Greatest Achievement in Blackface, Best Catholic Whipping Scene, and Most Gorgeous Gams on a Broad. The highlight of the night occurred when Wings won the award for Best Picture without a single Dago, Tar Baby, or Wetback. And on May 15, 1940, the first McDonald's opened in San Bernardino, California, back when a young Grimace was just working as a cashier. And that was what happened this week in history. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, history is actually pretty racist.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us. We are kicking off the third hour of this live Sunday night edition.
That was quick.
Of Free Talk Live. Yeah, this show goes by way faster than it seems. Like, more frequently than not.
Yeah.
Because there's just, the world is so crazy now. We are living in the dystopia that was only science fiction when I was a child. So anyway, in the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Let's circle back because we were talking about, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we were talking about the U.S. Treasury Department Secretary warns unvaxxed Americans that shortages will continue until everyone is jabbed.
Beatings will continue till morale improves.
Wally Adeyemo, the Biden administration's second highest official in the Treasury Department, appeared to publicly blackmail the still sizable portion of Americans who have not been vaccinated against COVID-19 during a Thursday ABC interview, seemingly blaming them for the ongoing shortages of consumer goods. And so this is where the hashtag #EmptyShelvesJoe comes from. That's apparently trending. Despite viral photos depicting thousands of cargo ships lined up at the Port of Los Angeles ready to unload their goods, Adeyemo claimed that the supply chain issues plaguing so many U.S. retailers are an international issue and will only let up when a sufficient percentage of the country has been vaccinated.
Lies. Lies.
What do they call it when you, you create the problem and then also poses the solution to the problem you created?
Government?
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, I think that's is it the Hegelian dialectic?
Oh.
The problem, reaction, solution?
Okay.
Right?
Sounds right, but I don't
create
know.
the problem, have a reaction, and then propose the solution to the problem that you created?
Yep.
Sounds like Pfizer.
Yeah. Describing the disastrous economic conditions as an economy that's in transition, Adeyemo acknowledged that we are seeing high prices for some of the things that people have to buy. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious.
I don't have to buy anything, first of all.
Well, that's true. You don't have to. While he praised the administration's stimulus payments, he also pinned the blame squarely on the unvaccinated.
Here's the problem with those stimulus payments, right? And I've said this from the beginning of the shutdown. You can give out all the free money you want. If you shut down the production side, right, by not letting producers produce and not letting people go to work, you're going to end up with a supply issue, and then you have all that money and nothing to buy. right? And then that drives up the price. So you have all that money, nothing to buy, and what's left to buy cost more anyway.
Your economic acumen is showing.
Thank you.
Don't just whip that thing out wherever you feel like it. There's a quote here from this guy, and I don't know if it's mentioned elsewhere in the article, but it's really bold. And it says, this guy, Adeyemo, said, "The reality is that the only way we're going to get to a place where we work through this transition is if everyone in America and everyone around the world gets vaccinated."
Beep, beep,
Lies.
beep, 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 beep. That's my lie detector.
Nice.
Yeah, my BS star was also going off.
You just let people go back to work, make individual choices about their health.
Yeah.
And then it may take some time, right, to get out all the production lines ramped back up to speed and all the backlogs and shortages cleared. But it's doable.
The beautiful thing about the human marketplace, and I don't mean like a place where you go to buy humans. I mean like the marketplace as humans exchange goods and services, with each other to improve their lives. The beautiful thing about it is it doesn't require anything to control it.
Mm-hmm.
It's magic in how it works by itself.
And yet the government
based on
interjects.
supply and demand. But the government is like, no, we need to control it in some way, shape, or form. And so they do.
What do they expect everyone to buy with all the stimulus checks if they shut down production?
And then we get this crap.
What good is it? What good is it?
While the ABC reporter repeatedly suggested that the country's shortages of toilet paper and other panic buy items could be traced to international supply chain disruptions, a growing number of Americans are demanding answers regarding the weirdly specific nature of certain products missing from store shelves. Some have even voiced doubt concerning whether the shortages are being introduced deliberately, either to gin up hatred against the unvaccinated or keep Americans economically off balance as they grow accustomed to the wild disruptions of the pandemic. Now,
viable theory.
Ginning up hatred against the unvaccinated is all that has been happening since they announced the vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in fact, the government went to these companies, supposedly, and said, hey, guys, come up with a vaccine real quick.
Thank you, Donald Trump. Operation Warp Speed. It was his idea.
Well, supposedly according to the mainstream,
according to Trump,
mainstream media and all that kind of thing. So government went to working hand in hand with these companies that have repeatedly lied to people, have repeatedly marketed things that did harm to people.
Well, would they have even needed the government prodding though? Because that's their business anyway.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
New disease, let's solve this and make billions.
Right. Now, except these vaccine manufacturers are not in the curing disease business. They're in the disease management business.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, because that's all they've done. There's no cure for COVID.
Because a cure equals no more customer.
Yeah.
So if there's no incentive for these companies to cure people, there's all of the incentive to create something that you need to subscribe to and continue paying them on a regular basis.
That is one area where I'm not yet convinced that the free market would solve that.
Subscriptions?
No, like cures. Right?
Oh.
You don't need,
any
private business.
Actually, you just have to invert the incentives that currently exist.
Okay.
For example, back before government controlled healthcare in the way that it does, and it does in every possible frickin' way you can imagine, doctors used to be able to be community sourced. So, 50 of us could get together and pay a doctor's salary for a year, and then we would all have access to this doctor. And if somebody was like a hypochondriac in our group and like sort of dominated the doctor's time, the group would then have to either get this guy to contribute more or talk to him and be like, hey, man, you're kind of, other people need to see the doc too. And so it was a self-regulating system in that way. The incentive was that if somebody got ill, the doctor no longer got paid. So it was in the doctor's incentive for him to cure people, to keep people well. As long as the people were well that he contracted with, he would get his money. If the people became ill and the doctor didn't keep them well or do right by them in the medical, science that existed, at these times, then the incentive was there for him to do everything in his power to find a way to cure or make these people more healthy.
Well, and not even just that. I mean, if you're a good person and you're going into medicine to take care of people because you care about people, wouldn't you not be an evil psychopath that's trying to extort money from everybody and make them sick? I mean, there's that too.
Right. I mean, you're talking about local community doctors or new doctors who would then have to go to these big pharmaceutical companies to get the, I'm going to say necessary medicines to treat their patients.
Sure, but the incentive would be corrected.
Maybe at the doctor level. How do you get all those doctors to convince the pharmacy company to switch their incentives to cures rather than...
Because the incentive follows the doctors. It's the doctor's incentive to keep the people healthy. Therefore, the doctor isn't going to prescribe something that is only going to manage a disease unless, of course, it's necessary. What I'm saying is it eliminates the unnecessary portions of this, right? Because the incentive is now proper. So then that means that the pharmaceutical companies, if they want to keep marketing their products to these doctors, would have to make sure that that falls in line with the doctor's incentives.
They're going to break the cartel?
That's right. Incentive breaks the cartel.
All right.
You just invert the incentives, right? Right now, doctors' incentives are, hey, if you pimp our drug, we'll kick you down some, cash or whatever. They're getting bribed by these pharmaceutical companies
because they have more money than the average consumer,
and the doctor, right? And the doctor wants to make more money, right? So if the incentive is inverted from what it currently is, then everything just the ship rights itself. The market takes over the way it's supposed to. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering FreePrivateCities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at FreePrivateCities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. FreePrivateCities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number, 603-283-6160. If you would like to join the conversation tonight. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Rich.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of that here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and literally could be taken completely offline at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so now we're streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel. Just visit video.freetalklive.com. If you'd like to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com. And then with every video you watch, you'll help to seed and keep it online forever. Again, video.freetalklive.com. Follow us on Odysee today, video.freetalklive.com. All right, so we're still talking about this bit from RT.com where the U.S. Treasury Department Secretary is basically blackmailing the United States population.
And pitting them against each other.
Saying that the only way we're going to solve this crisis of all the cargo ships and containers backed up on both coasts, the East Coast and the West Coast, is if everyone gets vaccinated.
So most of us in this room have had the COVIDs.
I had it. Yep.
I had it.
I got over it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've got, that good old fashioned built-in natural immunity.
Yep. Taking my chances with Mother Nature.
Taking my chances.
Risky.
So if we don't get vaccinated, they're going to hold up cargo ships. Like
it makes no sense because
we're already fine.
The obvious solution to all of this is just hire some more folk, right? Pay them whatever you got to pay them, and open your ports, more than one shift a day.
But then consumer prices go up, Captain. You want to pay more?
The consumer prices are going to go up anyway because of the bottlenecks. So then if you want something, right, the demand increases for a thing, the price goes up. We know that's how the market works. Supply and demand.
Right.
If you strangle the supply, the demand goes up, and then the price goes up. And that's on top of the inflation caused by, again, the institution known as government and the Federal Reserve printing billions and billions of dollars, something like 20% of the entire amount of dollars in existence came about in the last couple of years.
So Creepy Joe got, a little bit of a lashing for his, 20 trillion is zero, right? Like that was in the news.
Empty shelves, Joe.
Right. And the debt number is so enormous, right, that it's difficult for me to conceptualize it.
Right.
And so it's meaningless to me. Like I understand inflation. I understand prices are going to go up. I understand dollar, doesn't go as far.
Yeah.
Right. But if they continue to go in debt and they continue to raise the debt ceiling and they continue to not pay it off, right? Yeah. Then doesn't it cost zero? Because they're not going to pay it off.
Well,
there's stuff for free.
I mean, we talked a little bit.
The buck stops somewhere, but it's not anytime soon.
I think last week we talked a little bit about the this thought that gets thrown around every time this debt ceiling thing comes up about them printing like the $1 trillion coin.
Yeah.
And like, okay, we'll just print a coin that says, the entire. And my question is, why don't you just print a coin that's the entire national debt and then like hand that over to the Federal Reserve and
sure,
like, here you go, debt's paid.
I mean, would that change anything?
No, probably not.
I can tell you, and this is a bit of a segue off of the topic, but I had brought in another article from FEE that says the U.S. government's debt to GDP ratio is worse than Greece's before the 2008 crash, and it's about to get much worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know if our listeners remember the 2008 crash, specifically the one that happened in Greece, hyperinflation, all that kind of thing. The current U.S. situation, the debt to GDP ratio, is worse than Greece's was at that time, and it's not going to get any better. So to answer what happens is the empire falls. Once the dollar loses all value, which it's pretty darn close to having done already, it's a matter of time.
Sure.
Right? And once that happens, empire go bye-bye.
And we see it happening now, even just with the state kind of grasping at straws and just kind of trying to like take down anybody they can, or just making any effort they can to stay relevant, and it's just not working.
So they don't raise the debt ceiling, they cut back spending, and they can turn this around.
Oh no!
It's impossible at this point. They're too far gone.
Mathematicians have analyzed this, who are way smarter than I am. Mathematicians have analyzed, the economic situation and all the possible outcomes, and there's no way to turn any of it around. It's mathematically impossible. There's only one way out, and that's financial collapse. It's not a question of if; it's a question of when. They continually kick the can down the road, right, by printing more money. That's the only option they have at their disposal anymore. They can't do anything else. That's the only thing they have.
So get prepared, or hopefully you're old enough to outlive it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, and that's, if you like look at most of the people in the government, I mean, they're old. So I think they're just kind of trying to print all this money and live their lavish lives and then leave everybody else in the dust, basically. They're like, I'm only going to last another 30 years or so.
I mean, I don't want to, make it sound like everybody's out in the cold when that, get involved in alternative currencies.
Absolutely.
You should definitely start now.
Doesn't have to, yes, I like cryptocurrency as an alternative currency. I think it's probably the best idea that mankind has had, maybe even ever.
Since sliced bread,
maybe. Yeah. Well, since the dual ledger bookkeeping, right? This is the triple ledger bookkeeping, right? So that's really what blockchain is. It's just they added a third dimension, if you will, to the double layered bookkeeping, right? These are layman's terms. I'm not a financial expert, but that's my understanding of how they solved the Byzantine generals problem, right? Is they just souped up bookkeeping, right? Essentially, this ledger, right? And so cryptocurrency is the best invention since the ledger, right? And the ledger revolutionized. If you go and just do a little bit of reading about how the ledger, the dual entry ledger, changed the world, you'll understand why it's so important that cryptocurrency, or why I think cryptocurrency is such an awesome invention, because it's going to do all of that and then more.
Look, accounting was like my worst subject in college because a lot of it didn't make sense.
I know. And you don't have to be, an accountant. You don't have to be a numbers whiz to go and read about how this accounting technique changed humanity.
Okay.
Right? You can just go read about it.
So understood.
The magic rectangle is at your disposal. So, but then there's also goldbacks. That's an alternative currency.
Those are exciting.
I love goldbacks, man. Those things are great. Spendable gold. That they kind of look like, kind of looks like money, really, to tell you the truth.
With the limit on manufacturing?
For now. 603-283-6160. Are you into alternative currencies?
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Heavy rain that inundated the South Indian state of Kerala over the weekend has caused terrible flooding, which has killed at least 18 people. Rivers overflowed and many houses were swept away as water gushed onto the roads in several villages following the downpours on Saturday. The death toll is predicted to rise and dozens of people are unaccounted for. In the districts of Kottayam and Idukki, two of the worst hit areas, there were several landslides following the flash flooding. Local television reports also showed images of people desperately trying to rescue passengers from a bus that was trapped in the water. The Indian Air Force says it has deployed helicopters to assist with rescue efforts, and the National Disaster Response Force has deployed 11 search and rescue teams across the state. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that he'd spoken to Kerala's Chief Minister and that authorities are working on the ground to assist the injured and affected. There are fears of a repetition of the devastating 2018 floods in Kerala, which killed more than 300 people. At least 17 missionaries, including their family members, have been kidnapped by a gang in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, according to officials. 5 of them are children. Julia Sun has been following this story from New York.
These missionaries are affiliated with a Christian aid group called Christian Aid Ministries. They were traveling in a vehicle in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after they visited an orphanage in an area called Croix des Bouquets. It is believed that the gang behind the kidnapping is a local group called 400 Mawozo. The Center for Analysis and Research for Human Rights in Port-au-Prince, which monitors kidnapping in Haiti, said this gang is responsible for approximately 80% of the kidnappings in their country. The incident also comes in the shadow of the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July, which has also thrown the country into turmoil.
China's military has accused the United States and Canada of threatening peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait after they sent warships through the region last week, according to a Reuters report. Reuters cites U.S. officials saying the USS Dewey, which is a guided missile destroyer, and a Canadian vessel called HMCS Winnipeg passed through the area last Thursday and Friday. The Chinese military said it stood guard while this happened. Recently, the U.S. has been conducting what it calls routine operations in the Taiwan Strait. This has riled up Beijing, which considers the island to be part of its own territory. The issue of Taiwan has become a focal point in the turbulent relations between the US and China, most recently after Beijing sent around 150 military aircraft towards Taiwan's airspace. Reuters is also reporting a new claim made by the Defense Ministry in Taipei that 3 more Chinese planes entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on Sunday. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
(603-283-6160) is the telephone number here at Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Nikki,
and Richie Rich.
We are here 7 nights a week from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Time, live. If you're hearing us outside of 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, you're likely hearing a rebroadcast. So if you do want to call,
Hello from the past.
And take control of the airwaves, please do so between 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I have to say that co-hosts here on Free Talk Live, Aria and Conan, are idiots.
Oh, wow.
And they're going to prove it on October 19th, which is 2 days from now.
Okay.
On Freer Talk Live, which is the after show to Free Talk Live. What they're going to do is they're going to be eating progressively hot peppers up to and including the Carolina Reaper, the hottest pepper in the world, while discussing stuff.
Nice.
What they will be attempting to discuss while choking and breathing fire, they don't know yet. You could just send money to thecrypto6.com if you want, but there's no cause, no fundraiser, no mission, just two people torturing themselves for other people's amusement. Who will go for the milk first, Aria or Conan?
There's got to be a betting line on that somewhere.
Join us for Freer Talk Live, October 19th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it at video.freetalklive.com. Again, that's on the 19th, right after Free Talk Live.
Who you got, Captain?
I think Conan will reach for the milk first.
Okay.
I do too. Arya's pretty hardcore when it comes to the spicy peppers.
I don't
know Conan well enough.
That's kind of where
Maybe
I'm at too.
that's
I know Conan well enough, but I feel like Arya's got more of a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I think that she's just got a little bit more fight in her.
Okay.
Maybe I don't. You know.
Well, I guess
she'll
we'll find
pass
out.
and hit the deck before she goes for that milk jug.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to find out on Tuesday, right? It's Tuesday?
Yeah, it's Tuesday, the 19th. All right, so we've been talking, we've kind of segued into many things, but we're still talking about this U.S. Deputy Secretary, Treasury Deputy Secretary, basically blackmailing folks, saying that, the only way we're going to get out of this goods shortage is to get everybody vaccinated. Adeyemo, the guy who's been interviewed in this article, he did the Biden cabinet no favors by adding fuel to the conspiratorial fire, explaining the primary reason Biden continued to push for everyone to be vaccinated was that only then could the White House, quote, provide resources the American people need to make it to the other side, unquote.
That doesn't even make sense.
Of the supply chain problem.
Have you read a Biden quote that does?
That's a good point.
So basically they're saying that the government can't provide the resources American people need to get to the other side of the COVID pandemic.
Biden doesn't even know how the vaccine works.
I don't think
he doesn't know how anything works.
I don't think Biden knows how politics works. The guy is the most incoherent, babbling baboon that has ever had, the disgrace of being, I don't know.
So, to his credit, 50 years in politics would, be evidentiary otherwise. He knows how that works.
Yeah, so it's tough road to hoe being a career criminal.
Yeah.
Karma.
Despite blaming the international shipping industry for empty shelves in the U.S., the media establishment has acknowledged that the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, which together process 40% of the nation's imports, had their busiest years on record last year, giving the lie to the notion that, I'm sorry.
Just read the words.
Yeah, giving the lie to the notion that the products missing from American shelves simply don't exist. However, many truckers working for shipping companies have balked at the idea of mandatory vaccination, leaving their firms' fleets woefully understaffed, and others have gone on strike to demand better working conditions.
I think that was another thing in the Fee article, was the truckers, like California banned independent truckers.
They did,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
no owner-operators. You have to work for a company.
Right.
And owner-operators are like the majority of how things get shipped around the country.
Right.
It's like that meme with the guy riding the bike, and he sticks the stick in between the spigots, and he's like, oh, the unvaccinated people did this to me.
Right. And just as a side note, I really hate writers that don't attempt to read their own writing before writing it.
Yeah, that was a confusing sentence that you just read earlier.
The Biden administration has attempted to address the supply chain problem by calling for the Port of Los Angeles to run 24 hours. But while he praised his own promised move as a game changer, the executive director of the port has made it clear that there is no timetable in place for the promised scheduled shift. Meanwhile, Biden's cabinet has come across as woefully out of touch. Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
An old, senile, babbling idiot?
In cognitive decline, I think is what the
cognitive decline.
PC
That's putting it
people say.
politely.
Yeah.
White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain, for example, poo-pooed the issue of empty shelves as a high-class problem earlier this week, eliciting criticism from both left and right.
Yeah, because only rich people need food.
Right?
And Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, I don't know if that's how you...
Buttigieg?
Booty Booty Pants, whatever he's got going on, has been quietly vacationing on paternity leave since mid-August, leaving the country without even a semblance of logistical oversight as the cargo clog shows no signs of dissipating. Because they care. Politicians care. Government people care.
I mean, I'm kind of okay with him putting his family first as a human being.
When your job is to do things and there's a crisis, you generally... most people I know in the places I've worked, if they're on vacation, they cut their vacation short.
Yeah, I know.
They come and take care of business.
Yeah.
Because they're incentivized to do so.
If they're incentivized to do so.
Except politicians are not.
But I'm also
employees.
I'm a big proponent of families, and I think family comes first.
Well,
okay, was this guy doing anything
You could go
before,
babysit
though?
his family while he comes and does his frickin' job.
If he wanted me to. Like, that kind of defeats the purpose.
I'm sorry,
I should
what were
just
you
go
saying?
do his job.
Was he doing his job before he was on paternity leave? I mean, let's be real here. Probably not.
No,
so does it matter if he's on vacation or not?
Even better reason to stay on vacation, take care of your family.
Yeah.
Well, then
whatever.
why should he be getting paid at all?
What, for paternity leave?
No, I mean, if he's not doing the job that he's supposed to be doing and getting paid for it, then his job shouldn't exist. That's how it works everywhere else except in government. So
yeah, I mean, you could ask that question about any government official.
Yes.
In any capacity.
Well, I mean,
elected or otherwise.
They already stole all this money from us, so they might as well, they have to put it somewhere, right? So pay all these salaries, I suppose.
They could just give it back.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'll never happen. Live in the now. It'll never happen. Labor shortages are being felt far beyond the U.S., though often for similar reasons. In Italy, thousands of protesters turned out to block cargo ships from unloading their bounty earlier this week. Why would you do that?
Are they unvaccinated protesters? Is that why? You got to get vaxxed so the vaccinated protesters will leave.
The demonstrators were outraged over the country's adoption of mandatory vax-to-work policy, similar to that threatened by the Biden administration.
Oh, there you go.
And the UK government has begged lorry drivers to return to work. Those are cabs. To return to work.
They only pick up passengers named Lori.
Even luring foreign drivers in with temporary visas as the country frets over its empty shelves issues. So the UK, they can't find enough cab drivers because they're all PO'd about the vaccination mandates, and so
they called up Pakistan.
The government,
send your best.
Yeah, the government's they're calling in scabs, basically, right? For lack of a better term, to come in and take over the vacant cabbies routes.
They're taking our jobs.
No, the government's literally giving them away.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's funny.
Our gerbs. 603-283-6160. Have you had enough? Is it time for you to stand up? More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Free Talk Live. We're a live call-in radio talk program, and we'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
I have to say that I've been corrected.
Uh-oh.
I have my English terminology improper, apparently. I know certain English terminology like boot doesn't refer to a thing on your foot. It refers to the trunk of your car.
What about chips?
In England, it's called the car boot, not the car trunk. You don't hide the dead body in the trunk. You hide the body in the boot.
What do you do with the boots of the dead body?
I don't know. Where do you put the boots? We have Rob calling from Missouri. And Rob, you had a correction to make for me.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Go ahead.
The show. Hey, actually, I was stationed in England for 3 years long time ago.
Please tell us more.
In the Air Force. And Hey, I appreciate your assessment of Biden, by the way. I think you're spot on. But yeah, a lorry in England is actually a truck.
It's not a cab. I stand corrected.
Someone should tell those Brits how to speak English.
So,
and I just like Richie Rich was contemplating that his Pakistan joke was ruined now. So way to go, Rob! You've ruined his joke.
I did not mean to ruin the joke. Hey, it was a good joke while it lasted. And the front of a car is called a bonnet. How about that?
It is the bonnet and the boot.
Yes.
Aw, those Brits are silly.
How do they come up with that?
Well, you know, us Yanks are pretty silly to them too. So hey,
yeah, that's true.
Anything else you want to talk about tonight, Rob?
Hey, no, I think you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate your, like I said, I think your assessment of the president is pretty spot on. I appreciate your words of wisdom.
Hey, thanks for the call, and let's go, Brandon.
It's amazing, like with the stage that they have set up for all the Biden things.
I don't want to I really do enjoy the "Let's Go, Brandon" thing.
It's funny.
It's almost a spontaneous meme, right? Like nobody sat down and was like, "We want to make this a meme." It was a meme created out of circumstance, right?
Look,
so
you can't go around shouting white power, so you just change it up. Let's go, Brandon.
What?
Just saying, it's a dog whistle.
It's
some kind.
I don't think that's synonymous with white power, though. You're making fun of Joe Biden.
Understood. But isn't it the white nationalists that are Trump supporters?
I don't know. Are NASCAR fans white nationalists?
Have you seen all the Confederate flags?
I don't follow NASCAR.
I think they're just rednecks, and in their defense, they probably don't even know like what happened in the Civil War, like any of it. So they just see the flag. They're like, "My daddy had that flag too."
I just love making fun of whoever the president happens to be.
Sure.
Right. So I have no preference, but so that's why I don't want to like overuse the "Let's Go, Brandon" bit because. Like, it is specific to one president. Now, to be fair, I have also made fun of the previous president, specifically fans of that president, and I've called them Trumpanzees.
Nice.
And I still call them that because they still exist. And so, you know, I like to be an equal opportunity offender when it comes to these types of things. Obama was Obama, right? You know?
Or Obama?
Well, Obama, like he
bombed a lot of people.
He bombed a lot of people. And not that Trump didn't. Trump bombed a lot of people. Biden's bombing a lot of people.
They all do, and that's the point.
And so, yeah, there's no difference between the parties. You know, the only difference is, you know, which direction they point the gun of government, of course. So, yeah, there's that. But it's important that people realize that it's not the person who becomes the president that's the problem.
It's the office itself.
It's the chair. Yeah. It's having an organization where somebody wins a popularity contest of sorts.
But now it's worse because they don't even let the guy who wins the popularity contest inside the White House, right? It's the stage outside for all the press events.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it really bothers me too how many people treat politicians in the same way they treat like celebrities, like movie stars and that kind of a thing.
It's a popularity contest. Would you expect any different?
I do because, well, you know, theoretically, you know, it's supposed to be different. But I don't like putting people on a pedestal that are frickin' criminals, that do criminal things, that violate the NAP on a daily basis on an institutional level, on a scale so vast that most individuals can't even comprehend it.
So you're okay with them taking down all those Civil War statues in the South?
I mean, you know, take down all the war statues.
Okay.
Right? You know, if you could take down one, take them all down.
Fair enough.
All of them. Right? Every memorial, take them all down. Why?
Glorify criminals.
Because glorify criminals. I mean, the organization type known as government is nothing but criminality. It's just institutionalized criminality. People falsely believe that it's there to do some good. I beg you to show me evidence of that, because if you can show me even a little piece of evidence that the organization type known as government has done a little bit of good, I will show you overwhelming evidence that it is the largest, most, and biggest criminal on planet Earth and has been since its inception.
And all of that stuff is public information too, like MK Ultra, you know.
Right. So the government itself is capable of doing some good, but at such an exorbitant cost that it's then not worth it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it certainly doesn't pass a cost-benefit analysis.
Not at all.
Not by any, it doesn't even come close, remotely close, like orders of magnitude away from, passing a cost-benefit analysis.
But when they steal from someone and give it to someone else, right, that someone else is better off marginally, but at what cost?
Right. At a huge cost.
Huge cost to everybody else.
Everybody else.
But the person who got the payout, right, they're going to support that system because now they're that much better off than they would have been without it.
Yeah. People get their undies in a bunch when I say that slavery wasn't abolished. It was just sort of spread out amongst the entire population, because now everybody is basically a free-range slave, slavery light, if you will, where, you get to make some decisions for yourself. You can kind of purchase property, but if you pay your property off, you still are on the hook for taxes. So the government is really your daddy, your landlord at that point, because if you stop paying them, they're going to come and take your land away.
Yep.
As if they were the landlord. So you don't really own any property ever. And, your rights are basically a set of temporary privileges. And they can just, sort of arbitrarily take them away whenever the hell they want to, apparently.
But they're supposed to go through the process? Amendments and whatnot?
I don't know. The only process I've seen anybody go through recently when it comes to politicians is these mandates. Right? And it's literally this. Here, I have a piece of paper. I have a pen. I'm going to write something down.
He has a paper and a pen.
I'm going to write, let's see. I'm going to misspell it. I'll not misspell it. I am allowed to rob you. I am allowed to rob you. Right? This is my mandate.
I see it.
Right, holding it up to the camera. And this is effectively all they do.
Yeah.
They take, maybe they do it on a computer and they print it, whatever. But they basically just write something down and go, this is my decree.
Yep.
How is that any different from a king?
Okay.
And now with the emergency, COVID mandates, they're like, oh, it's an emergency, so I get emergency privileges to just do whatever the heck they want.
So here's something you're not going to like. If you showed up to me with that mandate, right, and then proceeded to attempt to rob me, you would receive resistance.
I would.
And possibly some violence in defense of my right to not be robbed. Right? But if you extend that out to state robbery, people are like, oh, no, we can't do that. It's got to be a peaceful solution. Dude's trying to rob you.
Well, that's what
they're
do.
already being violent.
They're robbing every one of us every day, every time you pay a tax on something.
Understood. So where's the resistance?
Where is the resistance indeed? I think we're it.
Okay.
we are it. Here we are being the resistance. This is it. We're us. New Hampshire is where the resistance is. I'm sure there are other people around the country and around the world that feel similarly and feel like they're part of the resistance as well. The thing that I would like to see is a whole bunch of us get together in one area and see if we can't, exit this thing.
They're going to come for your property. You're going to have to defend it against their encroachment.
That's right. Just as I would have to defend it against a gang.
Understood.
In a city somewhere. That type of a thing. So, where is the resistance?
I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that level of confrontation.
Well, they better get prepared, because we've seen this with closing empires, closing societies in history, that it gets worse before it gets better. We're out of time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go to freetalklive.com to catch the archives if you missed any part of this broadcast or any other show. Thanks for tuning in, and peace.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others?